Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Yogah Karmasu Kaushalam.
Vocabulary in Business Communication. Hello viewers, I am Dr. Rinki Menon, presently associated with Gujarat University. Today I would be delivering a lecture in the subject of Business Communication. The course objective. The course aims to make students understand the basic concepts of business communication and develop conceptual clarity and logical skills so that they can use them. The course content. The course comprises of various concepts of communication. I would be delivering a session on the words and vocabulary frequently used in business communication. So let's begin with today's session. Business vocabulary. Which words and phrases are best for business writings? While the answer to this question depends greatly on your line of business, it pays to build a professional business vocabulary. In today's session, we shall understand the frequently used words and idioms for business communication, the do's and don'ts, the common business English vocabulary, and some examples of the best words to use to spice up your business writings. Wonderful words, try these and spice up your business vocabulary. Today's business environment is much different from way it was in the past. And there is quite a few business vocabulary words that are best left out of communication. Bottom line, if a buzzword or phrase looks complicated, don't use it. Stay genuine and always use language that is plain, simple and clear. Here are some examples. So, what is an agenda? An agenda is a detailed plan. Advantage, a specific benefit or improvement. Benefit, a specific positive outcome. Calculate, to do something with numbers, that is count, add, subtract, multiply, fractions or divide. Develop, bring out the best possibilities of a capability. Estimate, guess how much something will cost or how long something it will take is estimate. Incentives, provide a reward or offer something at a special price. Invest, spend a resource such as time, money or effort in order to make a future improvement, like invest your time in good books. Maintain, to take care or cover expenses or keep in a specified state, like maintain the accounts. Negotiate, try to make a better arrangements or get a better price. Negotiation between suppliers and buyers. Objective, a specific goal or a target. Objective of a meeting. Participate, to take part in, like participate in different business seminars. Process, a series of actions that achieves a certain end. Process of production timing. Schedule, a certain time frame, schedule for a meeting. Structure, a complex system that takes in the entire point of view, structure of the business hierarchy. Target, a measurable goal, target given by the top managers to the bottom managers. Thank you, a polite phrase to use with everyone you interact with. Though simple, it goes a long way. These are just a few of the many fantastic words you can incorporate in your business vocabulary in the event you are looking for a new way to say something. So, now let us take a look at the frequently used idioms or phrases in business communication. At 11th hour, at the very last moment, at the 11th hour I got the report about my meeting. Beat about the bush, not being to the point. The supplier was beating round the bush. A hue and cry, that means complain. He made a hue and cry about the product quality. By leaps and bounds, that is rapidly or speedily, the company XYZ is growing by leaps and bounds. In a nutshell, that is precisely, in brief. For example, to summarize a meeting in nutshell. To abide by, to follow or to abide by the rules and regulations of a company. To call off, that means to cancel or postpone. The meeting was called off at the last time. To carry over, that means to continue. The meeting will be carried over in the next session. To look into, to investigate. The CBI asked the other suppliers to look into the matter. To meddle with, to mess or interfere. The supplier asks the businessman not to meddle with their policies. To take over, to gain over. Company X has taken over company Y. So, I hope you are thorough with the idioms used in business communication. Now, business communication words and phrases to use. Weighing your words before you speak is not reserved for business communication only. We usually look before we leap into our daily conversation with our friends or family too. However, according to the recent workplace communication statistics, detailed instruction increase the efficacy of the overall task completion in your team. Minding your own words is never a bad strategy. So let's get over some business communication words and phrases you can use to ensure your message is always heard. Simple words and phrases. It is not uncommon to follow the habit of using uncomplicated and rare words. Sometimes we do that when we communicate with a person for the first time. Other times we use unusual vocabulary when practicing in a team discussion. However, the need to make a great impression takes its toll on the meaning of our message. Let's take a look at some examples of different ways we can communicate the same message. In lieu of commencing our project, we need to consolidate our goals and intents beforehand. That means we need to delay the project because we have to discuss our goals first. Both the sentences mean the same thing. The work on the project will not begin until everyone from the team is on the same page or understood the topic. However, the structure of these two lines is different. The first sentence appears more formal and could potentially lead the recipients of the message to misunderstand it. On the other hand, the second sentence states the meaning more clearly, reducing the chances of somebody not being sure of its message. So, why do we use complex words and what we can do instead? Sometimes we unintentionally use archaic words and vague words, but now and then we fall under the illusion of complicated words, making us seem more intelligent. Science, however, explains our ability to communicate the same message in different ways. The nature of language is what permits us to complicate matters. According to the famous linguist Noam Chomsky, every sentence has both deep and a surface structure. Deep structure refers to the meaning, ideas and thoughts that we want to share with others. The surface structure is what we actually say when we want to share our ideas, the very language we use. In line with the two previous examples, both the sentences share a deep structure. However, their surface structure is different, making the second example seem more ambiguous. Instead of adding to an overall confusion by using complex words and phrases in your business communication, whenever in doubt, choose the simple option. Let's look into some alternative. Like, instead of deem, use believe. Instead of encounter, use meet. For example, I am encountered to the board of directors. I want to meet the board of directors. Equitable, that is fair. Equitable amounts or a fair amounts. Instead of implement, use start. implement the project into action, or it can be said as start the project. Instead of leverage, use the word use. Instead of limited numbers, use few. The numbers of the data are very limited. You can use the number of the data are very few. Instead of the word magnitude, use the word size. The magnitude of meeting and the size of meeting. Instead of assistance, use help. I need your assistance. Instead, you can say it as I need your help. Instead of commence, use the word start. Instead of the word prior to, use the word before. Instead of notify, it can be used as tell. Instead of promulgate, use the word issue. For example, production promulgate. Instead, it can be written as issue of production. Instead of the word remuneration, you can use a simple language of payment. Instead of comply with, it can be used as please follow. Instead of convene, you can write the word meet. Instead of the word high endeavor, try the word try. Instead of delineate, you can write the word define. To indicate something or to show something. To modification, it can be used as change. I hope you are through with the instead and use words. Modal verbs. Whether you plan to schedule a meeting or participate in a negotiation process, a reminder to pay attention to modal words wouldn't do any harm. Although the speech process already requires you to use them. Carefully plotting how you put them to use can make a difference between great collaborations and a project that fell through. Using a modal before any action verb isn't reserved for dealing with sensitive issues or asking permissions only. Proper use of modal words can be a great addition to your business communication that can impact your overall tone. Instead of sounding harsh and commanding, your sentences become diplomatic and polite. Let's go through how this looks like in practice. For example, I want you to finish the report by tomorrow. Instead of saying this, you can use, would you be able to finish that report by tomorrow? Instead of the statement, I am not going to help you, you can use, I may not be able to help you, which becomes more politer. I want to hear your explanation. Instead of that, you can say, I would like to hear your explanation. I hope you understand the words or modal verbs. Specific words and phrases. Opting for words and phrases with broad, general and vague meanings is usually a flawed decision. Apart from interfering with the message you want to convey, the choice of non-specific words could also overshadow your expertise. Choosing meaningless expressions instead of concrete language in business communication decreases the value of the message and casts a doubt upon your familiarity with the topic. Moreover, the more frequently you use vague language, the more endangered your team collaboration becomes. When faced with unclear messages or poor information, teams are more likely to develop a siloed mentality, which is a tough nut to crack once it appears. The examples of vague phrases and their alternatives could give you a helping hand in preventing this from happening. The majority of the team members, instead of using this, use 73% of the team members, that is being specific, in substantial amount of money. Instead, use exact amount like 2 crore rupees. In the recent past or near future. Instead of this sentence, use be precise like 2 weeks or on a particular date. I need to finish this thing. Instead of this, you can say, I need to finish this report, article or email at this time. Positive phrasing. The power of positive words in communication is not a breakthrough discovery. We tend to use it to a greater extent than we are aware. For example, you might notice your co-worker getting into a heated discussion in the general channel of your business collaboration app, like WhatsApp or any other platform. Instead of risking entering the argument yourself by openly telling them to stop the argument because they might be bothering the rest of the team, you find an alternative by choosing to say, let's discuss this one over later. Or you can say, let's continue this conversation tomorrow. Or addressing them in a group direct message instead of typing, stop this argument already, you went for a more positive approach. Although both the options are objectively the same, 42% of the students rejected the option A but readily accepted the B option. Researchers have concluded that when negative consequences are rephrased so that they do not look like a loss, our subjective thinking processes changes. Even though the hypothetical problems possessed by the research team seem manipulative, positive words and phrases in your business communication don't necessarily have to take this turn. Let's examine some actionable examples. Why are you constantly supervising my word? Instead of saying this, you can say, I am more used to working independently. You will not go on a vacation until you notify everyone from the team. Instead of saying this, you can say, before going on a vacation, notify your team members first. I think this is a bad idea. Instead of saying this statement, let us use, I don't think this is such a good idea. Now the article looks better. Instead of using this, you can say the article looks even better. That is upgrading a person's work. Now, moving further, let us take a view of business communication in meetings. Business communication in meetings. An average employee, according to the analysis, attends 62 meetings in a month. However, the scheduled meetings distract us from completing the work and demand our complete attentions. Since we can rarely fall silent in meetings, the words we use have to be well thought out and appropriate for the context. To help you stay on the right track, we have compiled a list of practical phrases you can use in meetings even when you lose focus. Effective phrases to use during business meetings. If you wish to interrupt or interrupting, you can use excuse me for interrupting, or maybe I have a word with you, or sorry for interrupting, but before we move on, can I add my thoughts on this topic? Now, if you want to share your opinion, you can say, I feel that, or the way I see things is in this way. Next, asking for an opinion. If you wish to ask for an opinion, you can say, how do you feel about it? If you are agreeing in the meeting or taking complex, then you can say, that's the way I feel or think, or I have to agree with you. If you are disagreeing in a meeting, then you can say, that is a valid point, but, or you can utilize, I respect your point of view, but I feel. Suggesting, if you wish to suggest something, you can say, why don't we? Or how about, then the following suggestions. If you wish to clarify your point, you can say it as, could you repeat that please? Or you can say, if I understood it correctly, you meant. You can also utilize as, I think it might be help me if you could understand a few more details on it. I hope you are thorough with what can be said in meetings. Business communication words and phrases to avoid. The wrong choice of words and phrases in business communication seem to be the root of most communication failures at workplace. The pitfalls of poor workplace communication vary from low employee morale to money loss and a decrease in everyone's productivity levels. Although being reckless with your words could have colossal consequences on your organization performance, there is no need to hem and haw for hours before responding to a message. Make sure to avoid the following words and phrases in your business communication and you have covered all the bases. Overuse buzzwords. Everyone, once in a while, we all fall under the spell of corporate jargons. We hear these words and phrases very often, so they perhaps could cloud our judgment. Sometimes buzzwords such as synergy, low-hanging fruit or bandwidth just seem like a good choice in a particular situation. Whichever category you fall under, eliminating or reducing the use of jargons will do wonders for your business communication. Similar to ambiguous language, buzzwords do not contribute to the value of your conversations. However, alternatives to the catchy but empty buzzwords do exist. So, let's shed some light on the words we can choose instead of them. Instead of using the word synergy, you can use the word teamwork or collaboration. Instead of using that statement, let's dialogue, you can use let's have a talk. The meaning of low-hanging fruit can be utilized as an easy task. Instead of using the circle back, let's use revisit something or review a topic. Instead of using the bandwidth for sources, you can use resources. Instead of ping me, which is very common on the social media platforms, you can utilize contact someone in the business language. The next is cliches. Whenever our fingers approach the keyboard, we are at a risk of using the frowned upon cliches. Written communication, especially email correspondence, naturally calls for stereotypical phrases. Sometimes they do not have a purpose, but more frequently they don't contribute to the meaning of our messages and stand in the way of our productivity. Instead of communicating our message instantaneously, we waste precious time going over salutations, subject line and closings, which is just one of the disadvantages of email communication. Choosing a team chat app whenever possible would save you a considerable amount of time and prevent you from being in doubt whenever your wording sounds too pretentious. Since there is no need to fret over lengthy closing lines or salutations, getting in touch with team members using a team chat app allows you to transmit your message swiftly and go back to your task. However, if you still need to compose an email from time to time, proper substitutes for stereotypical phrases can help. Let us take a look at them. Instead of saying, "I hope you're well" or "I hope this email finds you well," you can say it as, "I hope you are having a great day or a week." Instead of saying, "Please do not hesitate to contact me," you can use it as, "Please call me or schedule a meeting if you have any questions." As per our conversation, instead of saying that, we can use, "As we talked about this on Monday or last week," or etc., being more precise. Instead of using "Sorry for the late response," you can say, "Thank you for the patience." I hope you are through with the cliche words. Sometimes we get carried away and use cliches in verbal communication too. Let's go over some of the frequently used stereotypes and their possible alternatives. Instead of saying "at the end of the day," you can use "finally" or "ultimately." You can say "game changing" instead of, you can use the word "transformational" or "evolutionary" instead of saying it is a game changer. If you want to say "rise the bar" or "raise the bar," you can use "increase your standards" or "improve." Instead of saying "we are on the same page," you can say "I agree to you" or "support your thoughts." Instead of saying "pick your brain," you can say "share your ideas" or your thoughts. If you want to reach out, you can say "please contact" or "support me." Instead of saying "take the ownership," you can say "take the responsibility." Now, the sentence fillers. Sometimes they pass unnoticed. Perhaps we are even unaware that we use them. Ever. However, sentence fillers pose a threat to clear business communications. Apart from that, their appearance in your written or spoken communication makes you appear less confident in your words. Putting your speech on a pause for a couple of seconds leads you to collect your thought and put them into coherent words. When it comes out to writing, putting an end to filler words should be much easier. Instead of clicking the send option, proofread your message as soon as you type in the last dot in a sentence. If you notice they don't add the meaning of your message, either substitute them with a more precise word or delete them completely. Let's examine some common filler words we should try to avoid in writing. If you are using very, really, I was very happy to see Josh, you can say or use, try to find a more precise word like I was very delighted or glad to see Josh. Very can be changed to delighted or glad. Instead of using the word basically, try to avoid using it entirely. The word just should not be used. Try deleting it. Instead of using the word actually, avoid it whenever it looks unnecessary. Department jargons. Although discussing segmentations during a marketing department meeting won't result in head scratching, doing the same when talking to the IT department might cause confusion. Successful cross-functional collaborations depend on many factors, from a positive workplace climate to being familiar with long-term goals. Unclear communication, however, poses a significant threat to the cooperation between separate departments. If you frequently use department jargons in conversation with people from outside of your team, you risk concealing information from them. Apart from blocking the information flow, using a term whose meaning varies across different departments gives rise to confusion and repetitive misunderstanding. To prevent frequent delays due to an unhealthy communication flow, always make sure to use simple language. When a conversation requires you to use a term that is not considered to be common knowledge, try to provide a detailed explanation before moving on to the next topic. Let's look into some examples of how you can solve the issue of department-specific language. Instead of using the word segmentation, which is usually or frequently used in marketing, reducing the target audience to smaller groups according to their traits, location, age, preferences, etc. Like, if you want to use the word 360-degree survey, which is generally used by an HR team. What is the meaning of that? Multiple perspective feedbacks, usually coming from both managers and team members. The SaaS platforms, which is basically used in IT, that is information technology. What is SaaS? It is a cloud platform that lets users store files, share them and collaborate with them. Finally, the do's and don'ts of business writing and vocabulary. Today's business worlds run on information. So remember this quick ABC, that is always be concise. This is one of the biggest, most important do's, and it is one of the primary reasons for building a solid business vocabulary. Here are some additional tips to keep in mind when writing for businesses, no matter what the topic. Always remember, the less is more. When it comes to using your vocabulary during the course of business, it is important to find words and phrases that allow you to express yourself in a concise way. Avoid sentences that are meander. Get to the point and send your message. Pay close attention to titles, names and genders. Have you ever received a message in which you were addressed incorrectly? If you have, you know just how irritating it is. From a business vocabulary point of view, an error in someone's title, name or gender is incredibly destructive, not to mention embarrassing to you and your company. Be professional, courteous and cordial. Choose business English language or vocabulary that are positive, professional and friendly. In past decades, business writing was quite formal. This is fine for things like job applications and legal documents, where very little word is likely to be scrutinized. But overly formal jargon can be jarring and difficult to read. When being informal, don't become unprofessional. It is often appropriate to choose normal, informal vocabulary words to convey messages during the course of business. Stay professional by avoiding off-color jokes, snarky remarks, gossip and personal comments out of your business communications. Don't circulate everything, even in an email, that you don't or wouldn't feel comfortable airing in a public forum. 1 H, 5 Ws. You should always check and double check your work to be sure that the message you are sending makes sense. That is 1 how, what, why, when, what and how. The easiest way to make sure you have covered all your bases is to follow a business writing rule that originated in journalism. Answer all the questions your audience might have by ensuring how, what, who, when, where and why are covered. Avoid jargons and weasel words. People don't like to read words that they don't mean anything. Respect your reader's time by choosing business vocabulary that leave no room for the reader to question intent or meaning. Plain language is always appreciated. Use business vocabulary words that inspire action. Choose words that will spur your readers to take the desired action. Almost all business writings is produced in order to achieve a certain purpose. Make a call to action important. Let your readers know what to do to get the right outcome. Write once, check twice. No matter what vocabulary words you have chosen to use in your writings, do your business a favor and proofread what you have written. Do this twice, preferably once right after you finish and once again a few hours or days after writing if possible. The brain often skips errors that were made in the recent past but will catch them later. If it is not possible to wait to check your work at a later time, have someone else to do the second round of proofreading for you. Little mistakes happen, but people will judge you for them. Nothing is quite so embarrassing as a typo in a document that's filled with great business vocabulary words and is otherwise perfect. So, wrapping up today's session, issues arising from poor communication are difficult to come to grasp, especially because they come in all shapes and sizes. Disguised as low morale, high turnover rate or breach of deadlines, inefficient workplace communication doesn't do your business any service if left unattended. However, the use of right business communication words and phrases is the formula to a success story. When used adequately, the correct business phrases bring on subtle difference in your team communication at first. In time, polishing your writing and making sure all your words fall into place in discussions change the direction of your workflow entirely. In the end, instead of the words being in charge of your business outcomes, you take over and own your words. To summarize today's session, today we took a look into the vocabulary used in business communication and also discussed about the frequently used jargons in business communication. I hope you are thorough with today's topic. Thank you.